So welcome everyone for tuning in today, whether you're watching this, listening to the audio or reading the transcript. I'm speaking today with James MacSporran, who's an artist here at Arts Project Australia, and he currently has his first solo one at the Collingwood Gallery, which you can see behind me. He's done a wonderful mural, and on top of the mural you can see some of his pieces which were created in previous years. The exhibition itself is on until, it was the 27th of June, but has been extended until the 5th of July due to the lockdowns that are happening here in Melbourne. Obviously, there's no lockdown anymore, but galleries cannot open yet, and we're not sure when they can. However, you can see all of the exhibition online as well, and all those pieces are available for sale. And also James is exhibiting alongside Samrain Chia, Monica Lazari, and Rebecca Shibilia, who also all have interviews online soon. Monica's is already online, and Rebecca and Samrain should be coming in the next few weeks. And now on to James. James is an emerging artist, working primarily in painting and drawing on paper and on canvas. His art practice embodies a blend of abstraction and graffiti, which result in really colourful artworks emerging from his imagination. He often synthesizes text and abstraction, and his work conjures references to maze, street art, old-style arcade games, and he's been featured in group exhibitions in Australia as well as Hong Kong. Hi, James. How are you today?
I'm very good, thanks. I have been busy doing some of my artwork again. So I'm getting ready to be back Thursday, Friday, hopefully. So
yeah, back in the studio. That's great. So for the first thing I wanted to ask you,
hopefully soon, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully something else goes wrong. So the first thing I wanted to ask is about this wonderful mural you've done in the gallery, which took about 3 days to complete. I watched you work really hard. Yeah, and we've got a time lapse of that on our Instagram as well. And then last year you did a similar public installation down in South Yarra on Chapel Street, which was more on the
Chapel Street, yes, that's right.
So I just kind of wanted to ask, how do you, compared to something which might be on canvas, which can have a bit more to and fro, for a public installation like this mural or the one in South Yarra, how do you envision the final piece, and what is it like to fully immerse yourself in the creation for like a period of a couple of days?
Well, if I've got 3 days, sometimes if I have a week, the 3 days worked well because unlike what I did in Chapel Street, there wasn't so much a constraint as far as I had a lot of pedestrians manoeuvring around me. So I didn't really have quite the time constraint that I had previously, because I had done another mural previously in, I think it was Merry Creek, and that had a certain time to have that done as well. So when I come up with a design for something, it's generally, if I've tried something I like, I've done before, that's generally what I follow, or if I find another technique, I'll use that. So generally, looking at the 2 murals that I did, that was because I was able to source a whole lot of other products that I wouldn't otherwise get, which is very handy. So I like generally working in sections of layers like I did with the recent, and plus the one before where someone had laid down a previous colour. So I worked with whatever that colour in the background was. So that was predominantly a purple. So I found colours that would sort of go well with that as well. So generally, as far as the design, it's just what it generally is either going to look like or possibly look like. Every now and then I might look at something and think, well, that doesn't go with that, and I'll maybe try something else. But generally, it's a bit of a sometimes hit and miss, but sometimes I know exactly where I'm going. So it was really good to experiment the 2 recent ones. The first one was sort of more of that was actually called Graphscape, which is like a landscape and a graphscape. So I've sort of stepped away from the landscape part and mainly concentrated on the graph. So that was the big difference with that one. So that was the main difference, yeah.
And kind of in the 3 days, do you feel like there's a rhythm and an ease, or is the experimentation something that's more like your kind of jigsawing and trying to work out the end result? How does it feel?
Oh, it makes me feel quite pleased to actually have been able to do it. I mean, it was really good doing the Chapel Street one as well, other than the fact that it was right near the shop where I like to go, which is sort of between two places I like going. And it was so close to Art Project as well. So it was nice to sort of be able to leave Arts Project and go and do that and possibly come back and do some more work. But I think it was just whatever was available, what was ever possible. It was just a really good experience. It was actually really nice meeting a lot of people that actually, that was what was really good, because when I was Chapel Street, that was more sort of people walking past and chatting. But when I was at the gallery, it was even just as good, because that was people stopping to have a look at the work and saying different things about it, or they liked it, or, you know, they say, oh, well, some people might say, oh, that's not my kind of style. But there was a lot of positive outcome from it. So that was really good. Made me
That's
feel quite
awesome.
happy actually, because you're never sure about what people's, you know, some people were making comments in it. I realised they were saying something nice, but I think it was the difference in the work style. So
Yeah,
it did
I
make
guess
a
that's
difference.
something about these public murals is that you get that instant feedback and instant engagement at different points of the
Well,
artwork.
I thought that was really good, because that was basically what was so good about the three, because there was always interaction. And I think the bigger difference is when I did the one in the park, which is the one near Mary Station, that was altogether a different experience, because that was a lot of people getting off trains to have a look at it. Like to actually say, well, I only got off the train to look at that, which made me feel really pleased, because they were saying, well, if it wasn't there, they probably wouldn't have been drawn to the park, which is really good. So that was quite good too.
Yeah. That kind of leads into the second question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
so Melbourne obviously has a very rich history and contemporary landscape in terms of public art and graffiti. And you're a Melbourne local.
Oh, definitely.
I'm quite interested
I
to
am.
know how, like growing up in Melbourne, your first encounters with street art, and along the way of your own art practice, who you've met in the sort of that subculture of the art scene, and even now, like where you go in Melbourne to observe other practitioners. So it's a very multifaceted question. So I guess the three prongs is that when did you first encounter it? Who have you met along the way, and how do you observe
Yeah,
street art now?
I get. Well, do you know, it's interesting now that you ask it, but I remember having a big history of always being interested in it. It actually started with a lot of films. There was Body Rock, Beat Street, and there was a film that I only just managed to get, which just mentioned, which is Body Rock. It was really hard to get a hold of. And I do remember thinking that was the one thing that did inspire me. But plus, sometime later down the track, I went to three exhibitions, which were all called Adrenaline, which is all basically big exhibitions of graffiti. That was very good. I really enjoyed going to that. And I got to meet pretty much all of the artists, and I found out why they decided to start painting canvas, because a lot of other artists would say, well, no, you don't paint a canvas because it's not street or anything, but they'd obviously decided their art had a unique or particular style. But where I used to go to, called Huntingdale Tech, that was pretty much another one. I met an artist who calls himself Murder, which is spelled MERDA for whatever reason. But I actually got to meet him, and was asking questions, and he actually was doing what I'd say more like a bit like me, was sort of more prototype graffiti, where he'd had a background and then put an actual cell, like an animation cell over the so it produced a whole new kind of artwork. So I think along the way I've met just about any artist. I also had a big experience, and it was a lot of fun. I since can't find the video, but it was actually VAYC, which is Victorian Art Youth. I don't know if they exist anymore, but it was VAYC, which is Victorian Youth Committees. That really got me involved. They had I remember we had a trip away, and I was wondering where we were going. And one of the persons said, well, look, we have to bring these boards. So we packed up about 20 or 30 boards and took them out to this really nice park. And we were all spray painting designs on boards, and they had it up at a big display. And I just remember it got really windy and it was blowing everything everywhere. And it just got to be really fun. But what they did was they brought about 3 or 4 boxes of spray paint, and it was just people having a bit of fun. BOYC was really good value. That really helped a lot as well. A lot of the artists there I got to meet, I think his name was Saipan. I sort of got an idea that he wanted to have a chat and asked, and I thought, well, I was a bit older to be doing graffiti, because most of these guys are really young, and I was already, cracking on to 30 and I just started a recent job, which I'll tell you about very soon. But what I did was when I was at VOYC, I was really getting to know a lot of meter guys and I asked them why they were writing. And I think the VOYC helped them because they were getting commissions a bit like what I am now. They were getting commissions, I think, for, was it Big M, and they had mural sites they were painting and they were really busy doing their own style of artwork. And a lot of them were getting ready for that exhibition I was telling you about, the Adrenaline. So that was 3 of those, and I did attend quite a few of those. And it was nice to see a lot of the work around the public work sites, which is really good. So that was good.
James, do you remember what
But I think
adrenaline was? It'd be interesting to know to look it up.
I think as far as VOYC, something similar. I think they actually may or may not exist anymore. But I just remember thinking I had seen online they run what are called aerosol art workshops, and it may or may not be the same thing, but I'm not sure.
So this
I think they
you're speaking of, what year was that?
between the 80s and 90s when I was first starting to get to. So that was quite a while ago. So I don't know what they run as far as that, but that's actually how I got to, I think around that time, that was when I was at Huntingdale Tech, and that's when I got onto my first job, which is screen printing, which is really good. Oh, other than the fact it really smelt really bad because of what they used to use in the ink.
Yeah.
That was really good. That thing, I think that helped me with my artwork actually, because there was a while that I almost completely stopped, and then because I was working, I was able to afford a lot of the paints. I actually found I was actually using something called Tuxin, which is like a shoe paint, and that was really good to use that. That was really good. But I think other than that, I just kept going. I'd buy some canvas and generally just do that. So it was really good. It was just to keep me busy and make sure I was able to get some work. I think as far as doing bigger sites and everything, that was really good doing that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like you've got like a really rich history in creating, especially canvas works. But I've noticed recently when I've been going through your portfolio that you also have some more like a more figurative practice as well. And I think there's 2 portraits that are currently online where there's a bit of like a washy yellow background. Is there a Pikachu and then a man?
Oh, Pikachu hat. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, can you tell me
Oh.
things from your main practice, which we can see behind us?
Oh, actually, I think that came about because I started doing some Zoom sessions, and suddenly there was all this other inspiration as well. So, and there's other books that I like reading that have been a big help as well. So they give me a bit of inspiration for some designs as well. So
Yeah, what book?
I don't think there's anything.
Sorry, James. What books gave you some inspiration last year?
I bought up quite a few recently, which is, oh, my internet's well, actually, it was probably to do with an artist called Scape. He does this really unique style, a bit like me, and that sort of helped as well because he did a lot of figurative work, which is really good. So that was a lot of fun to try that.
I guess that's interesting too because this show was originally scheduled for early last year, and I think all these pieces were so it's really exciting that it's finally on. But from your perspective, when you look at these works and they're from more than 12 months ago, how do you think your practice has evolved in this time, especially over COVID lockdown, as you were saying, and kind of going into the future?
Oh, I think it will just keep evolving because I look at some of the work behind you in the background. I mean, a lot of what I'm doing now doesn't look a whole lot more different. I can see the one behind you, not the cityscape, the one that's like the Parthenon, I think it was, with the building. I've got a few designs that look similar, but again, I think it was just the shape and the style of just really having a go with something. And the one above that other train one, I think that was, I think a lot of them were more prototypes than anything. It was just saying, well, this is what this colour looks like, or how depending on how well it all goes together. So I think it'll just keep changing and evolving because I think every time I was doing all the sessions, I kept on trying something and I thought, well, that looks okay, so I'll do that. And I did a bit more figurative work, and quite often the figure goes well. I did a really nice soprano, which looks very unlike what I've done before. And that already had the background, and I incorporated that into the design. So, yeah. I can't wait just people to see it all. There's quite a bit there, so almost loaded my car with all the my work to bring in. So there's a
Yeah,
lot to do. There's a
sure.
lot to look at. Yeah, but I think that would be the bigger difference because, again, looking what I've done there, I've got a few works that look similar, but again, I don't want to keep anything too similar. I want to keep it in a particular kind of style. So that's why if you see in the big mural, it's got what looks like flashes of colour. That was a technique I'd only just found out because I was just trying something else or something new. So it's
Yeah,
just worth it. I mean, just thought I'd give it a try and see how it goes. Definitely.
yeah, for sure. I absolutely love the expansiveness of your work. Obviously, there's like a few things that tie them all together, especially in terms of color. But the great thing is that your work knows no boundaries. Like you try a lot of different things, and they all look really wonderful. And hopefully, everyone can come and see it in the flesh soon. Like fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh, I was really actually pleased that quite a few of my works are doing as well as they are. I think you were mentioning some of the other ones. The one that I really like seeing is the one I did a while ago, but what I did was I took it home and did a little bit of more work to it, and I since found out it is actually online, which made me feel really pleased because I really thought, well, if I don't do something with it, it may not go anywhere or do anything. So I added a few other colours and just changed it a bit. It's what it is. It looks like a dragon. You might have seen it online. It looks like a dragon with sort of lettering joined onto it. So that was one of the, I suppose you could say, I think it was done in 2020, but I had since actually rediscovered it and thought, well, I'll give it a try and see if I can add a bit to it. And I think I just added some other colours and I think I just improved it a bit. So it's always nice to be able to go back to something and sort of add something to it just to change it up a bit. It's
Yeah,
always good.
for sure. And I guess that's the wonderful thing about this installation is that you're able to blend the new, which is this mural, with the older works.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So James, I think that's all the time for today, unless you're about to say something.
Okay.
I'll cut you off. All good.
I was only just going to say thank you for having the exhibition on for a bit longer, and hopefully it goes really well.